Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Live Pre-Race. Joe Samuel here, along with Joshua Birch from Joshua Birch Motorsports. Link in the video description to Joshua's channel. Especially, we got watch-alongs coming up for the Grand Prix of Austria later this weekend. And a lot to talk about today's show. Big thank you to our Patreon subscribers on the show, Mark, Robin, and our newest one, David. They invest in us each and every month, helping us get to the track, pay the bills. You too can invest in the Grid Network through Patreon or buy me a coffee, where you can buy a cup of coffee for a particular member of the Grid Network team. Show your appreciation for what we do on the air. And especially, I know, Joshua, you have had quite a busy few weeks. You even had Julia on the air, so we encourage everyone to be sure check out a link to the video description there. Same time, I know as we're excited we are, we do have to acknowledge some sad, tragic news this last couple of days. Delano Van Hoft, during the Formula Regional race, passed away, succumbing from injuries in the crash this morning, Josh. And then a track worker yesterday in Chicago passed away while they were setting up for the track. We know motorsports, very dangerous business, not just for the athletes in the car or on the bike, but the track workers as well. I recall 2020, we lost a track worker in Berlin as they were setting it up. And even we had a scary incident in Portland prior to the E-Prix race. A security guard was injured. So just one of those deals, Josh, where I feel like it's just, as much as we love the sport, it's just a fortunate reminder of the dangers for everyone involved.
Sadly, it is, and they always come in three as well. And the second of the three, of course, is this morning. It was Van Helm as well, but like last night as well, the former deputy team principal at Force India, Bob Fernley, sadly lost his battle with cancer and passed away age 70. So it has been one of those weekends where everyone always says in motorsport they always come in three. The tragedy at the Chicago Street Race as well, with the builder setting it up as well, Bob Fernley passing away, and now this morning Van Helm as well. So it's one of those where it always comes in three, and everyone's just like, okay, let's just get through the rest of the weekend across every series safely. We all had a heart in mouth when Pagenaud crashed in the practice 2 for INDYCAR a few hours ago. So everyone's just like, let's get through this weekend as safely and as cleanly as possible and make sure it's not any more drama that needs to be, because it has already been a difficult weekend to try and continue pushing forward. But honestly, this morning's accident at Spa, absolutely heartbreaking. And I've seen a lot of people on social media saying we need to abolish Spa and that. Like, it's not that. He didn't crash at Rouge. It wasn't Rouge. What happened was it was raining. So at the top of the hill at Radion, it was at the exit of Radion. They've got a normal curb, and then just alongside it, they've got that stupid AstroTurf as well. And it's filled up with water. Just lost it round on the curb, spun around, hit the wall, and the wall, it bounced him back into the track. And it's that we need to extend that so that doesn't happen. We need a bigger runoff on the inside, which is possible. So we need a bigger runoff on the inside so the cars don't bounce back onto the track. Work needs to be done at that point. And I think if Monaco can build onto the ocean, reclaim it, then I would say it should be possible for Spa to do the modifications necessary to make that part of the track as safe as possible, because there's nothing really stopping them. Otherwise, no one will go there again. So they've got to get it sorted, and they've got the things to do it in this day and age.
Yeah, this day and age, we know with Spa, it's one of the historic tracks. I feel like you can't say we're racing on Spa, especially if we're missing Rouge, Radion. They're iconic. Motorsports fans love them. But we can make it safer all around, because as you said, this was top of the hill, and it comes down to you bounced off the wall. Could we push that wall back further? I know it's very polarizing too, the topic of more paved runoffs. That would have made a big difference too. Just very unfortunate, very tragic indeed. So
there's another thing as well. A thing that everybody has sort of been saying, and I found out about it as well. It's true, because this weekend is the 24 hours of Spa. They've had to move their date a couple of weeks earlier, because at the end of July, where it was originally dated, F1 are there. So if F1 weren't selfish and just said, right, this is the only date you can have it, because we've lost our South Africa race, so you can either have it here or not have it at all, then this wouldn't have happened. So because they wouldn't have had to change the dates, it would have been a bit later. So it's just one of those things as well that it's just you start thinking why are we doing this? Why does it keep going on like this? And how long is it going to take until the things are made safe and the track is made safe? You can't make it 100% safe. Nothing's ever 100% safe. Me standing here right now in the commentary box, the roof could fall in on me. Anything could happen. So nothing's ever 100% safe. But that part of the track it seems to be a magnet for danger. It always has been. But these days, it needs to be sorted and fixed for the pure safety.
The pure safety, and one of the things I know Ben has said before too, sometimes you need the series to protect the drivers from themselves, because this day and age the cars are faster, the tracks are safer, the aggression is picking up, but we still have room for improvement across the board and around the world. Now, as you mentioned, of course, Formula One, they kicked off this race weekend with a dramatic sprint race, second of the year, plenty of action behind Max Verstappen. Rain stopped midway through the race. We saw a lot of passing as people were switching from the intermediate to soft, even medium tires. One of the most intense battles was Leclerc, Ocon, Hamilton, Norris battling for the final points position before the pit stops, and it seemed like Ocon really got the best of everyone today. Leclerc, no points. His miserable season is continuing on. Are you surprised by Leclerc struggling to get around Ocon today? Or is Ocon that Alpine really better than what most people anticipated?
I was also surprised at Hamilton struggling to pass the Williams of Albon during the race as well on the dry tyres, because Hamilton was on the softs and Albon was on the inters, and at that point in the race it shouldn't have been that way around. So yeah, there has been a bit of a change around, hasn't there, in terms of who's fastest and who's not. So I was surprised about Leclerc, actually. I'm very happy about Ocon. This Alpine, it's just got the sense, hasn't it, that something's brewing below the surface, that they're testing something out for next year. I reckon that car is slightly faster than this year's been meaning to lead us on. So Gasly, where did he finish in that race as well? Just having a look down. He was down in 15th place after a poor quali, but it's better in the race qualifying ahead of tomorrow. But yeah, Ocon, Esti Bestie, doing a fantastic job again and looks to be strong. And I'll tell you one thing, Joe, I've got a prediction that at one point this year we'll see a surprise win. It's going to come either from an Aston or my new top pick. It's going to come from an Alpine. They have been consistent over the past couple of races. They are inside the top five, and they've got a healthy gap to McLaren. They've scored 44 points. McLaren only 17 in the constructors. So they're looking really strong, and there's something building there. I'm really happy. What Otmar Safnauer's doing with that Alpine team is top dollar for me.
Top dollar, and remember, it wasn't too long ago we were talking about they seem to be collapsing, the criticism that they got publicly. They really seem to be turning that around to where we still have, I think, the track where I think that surprise winner could occur, Hungary. If we have wet weather, which we seem to do often, a chaotic start, if SD Bestie is towards the front, he could do it. Fernando Alonso, his first career win there. So we know we are a little bit away from Hungary, but that is potentially the one track where we could see a surprise winner. Of course, a surprise winner could always occur if you have the two Red Bulls colliding. That just about happened with the opening laps today. Sergio Perez, Max Verstappen. Perez claimed he had the better start. He did not see Max Verstappen after turn one, ran Max into the grass. He claims once he saw that, he gave him the room, let him by. Max Verstappen, he said after the race, it was just a hairy start, got sorted. But we saw those two were chatting and looked like they were not exactly on the same page. Overall, Josh, do you sense a rift between the two drivers? And is Perez really in a position to challenge Verstappen at all?
I think this is going to be a wake-up call for Red Bull that they can't just let Max continue to get away with everything, because I've seen a lot of people saying, and on Sky as well, maybe want to tear my hair out. Well, I've got left after I've had a haircut. I wanted to tear it out because they were saying, oh, well, it was Perez. He blocked Verstappen, and he was just friendly return fire. It's not what happened. Perez hit at the exit of turn one. Well, let's start right from the beginning, shall we? Go through it. Start of the race, Max and Perez get a pretty decent start. Second phase of the start, Perez gets a better launch. Max cuts across the track. That forces Checo towards the pit wall. In fact, let's use this graphic as a pit wall, though. So he forces him towards the pit wall, has to come in, and then that gives him the advantage in turn one. But he's at a poor entrance, so the car's not twisted correctly. So Verstappen does the cutback, gets alongside. Now they're side by side. Perez hits a bit of the a damp patch of the track. The rear of the car steps out, little twitch, he saves it. Max overcorrects, goes on the grass, and then he thinks, oh, well, Max, he's pushed me off. So what does Max do? He comes from so far back in the run up to turn 3, dives bombs Sergio, knows he's not going to make the corner, locks up, nearly takes Perez out. Lando is completely stuck. Lando started 3rd, finished down in 9th, outside the points, because Lando's turning in, and suddenly he's got Perez on the outside jumping across the curb, and Max just stopped right in front of him. Lando said in the interview, you had to go all the way down into neutral to get that car to stop. They had to shift back up. By the time he's done that, he was down in 12th position. So Lando again getting done by the Red Bulls making foolish mistakes. And then to make injuries worse, Perez retook the lead. And then Max said, okay, I'll dive bomb again at the inside of turn 4, and deliberately didn't brake until later. And that just left Checo nearly off the track, and Hulkenberg nearly got the lead, but Hulkenberg ends up 2nd. And then Perez fought back with him as well. But it was such a childish thing for Max to do yet again. And to me, it was Max who had the blame there on that one. If they had come together, it would have been Max's fault, not Checo's. But Red Bull aren't going to stop their golden boy. The media aren't going to stop it as well. And I'm hating it. I'm actually hating it because Max cannot be allowed to get away with that. Max doesn't know how to race. He only knows how to bully and manipulate and throw his tantrums everywhere. He is not a proper driver. He's forgotten. Look at 2021. One was Hamilton, one was him. The other was pretty much in between the both of them in Brazil. But that was a great year because that was both of them pushing to the limit. Everything was perfect. Loved it. Not a problem with either Max or Lewis that year. They were fine. This Max era, as soon as he's got a dominant car, he's becoming to be a bit cocky. He's getting that mentality as like, I'm the best in the world. No one. Schumacher had it. Schumacher had it at Ferrari. Lewis had it at Mercedes. Now Max has got it. Vettel even had it. Every time a driver gets a dominant car, wins championships, win races, constantly in a run, they start to think that they are a driving god. And they get a very, very rude awakening when they're not. And they don't like it as well. We saw it with Senna. We saw it with Prost. We saw it with Schumacher. We saw it with Hamilton. We saw it with Vettel. Alonso even had it at one point as well. We're in 07. It's going to happen. So, but the problem is this year, it's not. So we're just waiting for Max to get the knockdown he needs to realize, oh, hang on a minute, I'm being a bit of a, to the rest of the field here. I need to smarten my ideas up a bit because it's getting frustrating. I love Formula 1. I love the motorsport, but honestly, I stood in the comment box. I was done. I was ready to put the mic down and say, that's it, I'm done. Because I cannot deal with Max this year. I can't. He is off the racetrack. Lovely guy, really sweet with Penelope, really fun, chilled out guy. On the track, pretentious as anything, and I've had enough of it. I really have. We're only 9 rounds in. We've had 11 races in total, including the 2 sprints. Max has been so dominant. That's great for him, but he's being arrogant in a, like, I'm fed up of you kind of way. It's like the guy down at the pub flashing around his Rolex as well, thinking I've got more money than you. I hate it. It's not what Formula 1's about. Formula 1 is the pinnacle of motorsport. It is not going through and having all this, sort of like, I'm the king, you get out of my way. It's not what it's about. That's not sportsmanship. That's not racing. It's just the tantrum that we've seen from other world champions before. It will pass, but it just gets me so angry when it happens because it's like you are living your dream and you are treating everyone around you like they're nothing. And I hate it. I do hate it.
And got a couple comments in the chat room. SHT is just a tradition of driver becoming dominant. It's no surprise because, as you mentioned, Senna, Schumacher, especially Schumacher, when Fernando Alonso started coming up, oh man, he was not happy to see that Renault challenge him in 04, 05. It's just one of those deals. I think another thing too, as you mentioned, Max Verstappen thinking he's one of the best drivers in the world. Well, he is leading the grid rank, as you can see here, by quite a lot. So Alex Palou really the only driver that could potentially get around him. I gotta
He's leading
say,
that too. Is he leading anything else? Can I not escape one?
I know Ben has always said he doesn't believe the perfect season will occur, and the way Verstappen and Checo were racing, I thought there's no way. When Verstappen got into crash, I thought this is the race. This is where they're not going to make it. They still made it. Tomorrow, taking a look at the starting lineup for tomorrow's race, it looks like it's going to be pretty much straightforward. Max Verstappen again taking that win because he got the pole, he got the two Ferraris there, and Sergio Perez because of that dreadful qualifying
Yeah.
effort way further back. So that equal car is not going to be there contending with Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen overall, I think he is seen as a golden boy when it comes to Red Bull. The success he's brought to that team, the championships. For Sergio Perez, as much as he wants to contend, he knows he's realistically the number 2 driver. Unless Max Verstappen has a big collapse in the point standing, here are the points prior to today's sprint race. 69 points back. Verstappen could essentially sit out 2 races and still have the points lead. It's just one of those deals that makes it really hard for Perez or any driver to just catch up to him. But when you're Perez, you got the equal equipment. As soon as Verstappen has that championship wrapped up, that's when I see Red Bull. Okay, Perez, we're going to help you lock up second place. But we saw what happened last year in Brazil between those two. Is Verstappen really going to be that team player?
No.
I just don't see it. It's just not going to happen. Of course, tomorrow, the Grand Prix Verstappen, as we mentioned, just about everyone picked him for pick a winner. I think everyone's going to do the same for tomorrow unless there's a reliability or an error from his part if it gets a little bit too confident in that car. But I think the big battle will be second place. Without Perez there, you got Sainz. He finished third today. The Ferraris are up front. Mercedes, they don't seem to have the speed like a lot of people thought they would with the upgrades. And then Aston Martin, they look pretty strong today in between the Ferraris and the Mercedes all racing there. Perez way in the back. Who do you see as a favorite being on the podium? And could Perez even do it? Because we've seen him go from the back to the front, or is it really somebody else?
I was actually quite liking the look of what we saw from Perez, but I don't think he's going to do it. He's too far back for that one. Hamilton's an option, but he's had pretty much an off day today. Ferrari could take a 2-3. Alonso's always in the shout, but what about, let's not throw it out to an Ocon. Ocon did a great charge today. If it is wet and it turns to dry, Russell was quite good up there as well. So Russell could have a shout. SHT says, I already predicted a clean... I need my glasses on for that, my goodness. SHT says, I already predicted a clean sweep of a weekend for Maxi in Austria before the weekend even started. So far, he's about to do it unless something happens to his car. Yeah, practice, he was fastest. Qualifying, his fastest. Sprint qualifying, his fastest. Sprint race, his fastest. So he's doing the double. No one... He's led every single lap since Miami. That's a long time away coming in. Yeah, so let's have a look at the grid then. Here's my top pick. Hulkenberg. Yeah, that's another one who can come through. Watch out for Albon. Albon's surprising everybody recently. He just missed out on qualifying here today in Q3. So he's started 10th on the grid tomorrow. He could be someone up there for another maybe top 6 for results. Podium will be Max Verstappen. Lando Norris will be 3rd, and 2nd place will go to Lewis Hamilton. I think that's going to be our podium tomorrow. I think that's the best shout. Best the conditions they've got, because Ferrari are going to throw it away. They're not going to do it. And then that's pretty much the order I would go for, because I don't think Aston can do it either.
And you mentioned with Ferrari throwing it away, question from the channel, do you predict Ferrari to have another strategy blunder tomorrow?
It's Ferrari. I'd be more surprised if they don't, to be fair. I mean, I was surprised in Canada when the safety car came out. I was like, well, why haven't they pitted? And somehow they got it right. And he's bagged some decent points, 5th and 6th back in Montreal. But no, they are going to throw it away. Ferrari are not going to stay out there. They're going to trip each other over. It'll be top 3 will be Verstappen, from Hamilton, from Norris. That'll be our 3 tomorrow. Unless Red Bull want to, screw Lando over again like they've done every single time this year that he's been in a good position. There's just a magical Red Bull somewhere in the way that blocks him. It's getting a bit coincidental now. It happened in Baku, happened here, and it didn't happen in racing him, literally. But if I was Lando, I'd be questioning my friendship with Max Verstappen. is a former teammate in, of course, in the LMP2 in the R Factor series. So yeah, you never worry.
Now, one of the things I feel when it comes to Ferrari, I was surprised that Leclerc was on medium tires when everyone else was going out on soft tires. I'm curious because we saw how essentially the top finishers did not pit. They all stayed on the intermediates. Normally, they would play the radio. Do you think there could have been any chance Ferrari had told Sainz, you should pit for tires, and Sainz like, once again, no, I'm staying out?
I think there was definitely some overriding from the teams there because we were hearing from Max saying that is it dries? Is it all the conditions? Like he said, no, it's intermediates. Perez said the same. Stroll said the same. I think Ferrari would have definitely overridden that factor with Sainz because Sainz was he was feeling okay. Leclerc came in and changed as far as I can remember. So yeah, I think rightly. I think Sainz would be the driver to override the team. He's done it before, of course, this weekend with he did it in where was it? Qualifying yesterday? Yeah, qualifying yesterday. He overrode the team about a decision to change tires. So it's not unheard of this weekend.
Not unheard of, and I feel especially as we've seen Carlos Sainz when he overrides the team, it seems to work out better. I almost get the sense maybe you have a little bit more of that trust compared to it was a rookie or another driver that doesn't get the full picture. Sainz, I think, is really showing he is a smart racer. He knows what's going on around him. Ferrari, I think that strategy department, they just got to keep stepping it up. But it looks like it's going to be an all Red Bull tomorrow. Of course, we'll get to pick the winner later on. One race where I feel like it's not going to be all Red Bull or any particular driver, NTT INDYCAR Series. They're in Mid-Ohio, the halfway point of the season. And Alex Palou, well, he's going to try to make it 3 in a row. Been quite some time since we've seen a driver done that in IndyCar. Palou, as I mentioned, second in the grid ranking because he has been really coming on the tear since the Indianapolis Grand Prix. The second practice earlier today, when that wrapped up, Palou was second fastest. This is really interesting, Josh. 2021, he finished third place in this race. 2022, he finished second place in this race. To improve, that means it will be another win. Should everyone be nervous about Palou getting that third win in a row, and especially with the championship reaching the halfway point?
Finally, Alex Palou is proving why he's a world champion in IndyCar as well. He sort of had a dominant year, didn't he, in 2021, looked into the championship in many respects because of Pato O'Ward stopping and then you got having a problem back at Long Beach that year. So yeah, I am up for this. I am 110% up for the fact that we are going to see a very interesting battle with Palou tomorrow in terms of his mentality. Can he take it on himself? Can he push himself for that third victory in a row? I think yes. And I think if he does take it as well, this is going to be him accepting that, look, I'm coming back into my own now. I got a championship a couple of years ago. Now I'm going to go back. And I'm liking it. I'm liking the look of Palou, who had an off season in 22 and is now back in 23, going hard. And we were criticizing him when I was going hard on him in the first half of the year. He must have watched the Grid Network shows and the watch-alongs because I was saying he's got to improve. Where is he? He was nowhere. Bang, got him right now, here, ready to go, fully focused. And it's the business end now. Tomorrow will be riding 9 of 17. Business end. They come thick and fast now over the next few weeks with a double header at Iowa next weekend as well. No, weekend after. 2 weeks' time, a double header in Iowa. Then we go for another race as well before the end. And we wrap up in September, remember. So they come thick and fast now, these races. And they've got to be consistent. And he will be consistent. I think after this, we go to Iowa for the double header. Then a week later, Toronto. I think that's the schedule. Off the top of my head. Yep, good. So yeah, I think if he gets a win here, he won't take the double in Iowa. He won't even get a win in Iowa, I don't think. And that'll be where O'Ward will fight back at that track. And then he'll bounce back for Toronto. So we've got a really exciting title battle brewing. And I just got to say thank you very much that we didn't have double points at Indy 500 because it's given us a proper, decent title fight. And I like it.
We got a title fight, and like you said, it's going to pick up pace. September 10th, last race of the year over in Laguna Seca. You still have Toronto, the 2 races in Iowa, Nashville, back in Indianapolis, the road course, the Oval, and of course, Portland, where will be at the track again. All these races in much faster succession. I think it's really going to be a test for everyone. But the big thing, if they could keep up to Palou's pace, that'll be a sure indicator they could contend for the championship. But the big thing is they have to be up there with Palou. Palou consistently up towards the front. The wins are a big bonus. They are helping him, of course, get closer and closer to that championship. If he is able to do that, the other drivers have to really step it up and match him and hope he has a bad race somewhere. Because right now, Palou, with the IndyCar points standard, he could easily leave this weekend with the points lead, even if he finished dead last. But that would pretty much wipe out his big lead. If he comes out here with another win, you're now looking at a race and a half distance. And then, of course, the driver towards the bottom, they're going to start being eliminated mathematically from the championship. He could really position himself with a good race at Mid-Ohio. Chip Ganassi, the team knows how to win there with all the drivers, the notes, the data they have. This is a big weekend for everyone in IndyCar because if Alex Palou gets this win, I think it's going to be pretty much game over for everyone when it comes to contending for the championship. I think it's really going to start dwindling down quickly, and especially as you mentioned, Josh, as much faster as the season picks up, it's going to be really hard to catch up to Palou. Adam in the chat room, glad to see Simon Pagenaud okay after that crash in practice 2 at Mid-Ohio. It was scary to watch. Very reminiscent to 1998 when Michael Andretti barrel rolled in that same spot.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Thinking that this too, and it was just like, boy, that was really glad to see that Pagenaud was okay. The safety developments, thankfully we have the aero screen, just that extra layer of safety where you don't have a piece of debris coming in that cockpit area. It's scary to think for anyone. If you look up 1998 Michael Andretti Mid-Ohio crash, there was no aero screen there. Thankfully, nothing hit his helmet. It was just really crazy to see. Now, of course, Andretti Mid-Ohio, that's something where a lot of people see it as sort of like a big combination when it comes to the history of the sport. That other name I would have to say as well too, Rahal, Graham Rahal. It was very surprising because Will Power fastest in the second practice. Then you have Palou, Colton Herta, Palou Ward, and Scott Dixon, your top 5. But in 7th place, Graham Rahal, who is having a horrible season. Just everything from failing to qualify for the Indy 500, being a substitute in the Indy 500, car starting late in the race, crashing out of Detroit. Nothing has gone right for him. 7th place in second practice. He considers this a home track race, family based in the Midwest of the United States. Could this be a race where Rahal turn the season around with a good race weekend?
Sadly, I don't think so because that car's just been one of the worst of the season so far, hasn't it? Down at Rahal Lennon Lanigan Racing, and I'm a bit disappointed in the spirit that they're all showing is brilliant, but I'm a bit disappointed that's all they can show in it, and I think they are too. I think Indy was a big wake up call for them as to how alarming it was for the car not to qualify, his car specifically in the oval course. But road car, we saw him having decent results at Detroit, wasn't it? He was having an okay weekend there until it didn't. So we could see something good coming here. Of course, I wasn't in the comms box at Road America. That was annoying. Thanks for that clash, Formula One in Montreal. But I watched the race back. He was okay there. But no, he's not going to have a good race. I don't. Once you get into that mentality that you're in a bad season, you sort of start having a worse season because it plays with your mind a lot. So no, I don't think he's going to have a decent result here, what he considers a home track, sadly enough. I would be the first to cheer if he had a top 10 result tomorrow in the Grand Prix. You've got qualifying still to come, so you could line up there inside the top 10, but it's going to be a tough race tomorrow. And that car, I don't. He can do it, but I don't think the car can.
The top 10 finish will be a huge win, I feel, for the team at the rate their season has been going. Just nothing going great. Will it be enough to turn the season around? I don't think so. The ovals, particularly when we get to Iowa, Gateway, I just don't see that car being competitive. Mid-Ohio, similar. A lot of people will compare it to Laguna Seca, where it's twisty, elevation changes, very hard to pass, so qualifying is very important. If you can have strong run there, maybe there, but then the street courses, we just seen it just does not seem to be looking that great. Christian Lundgaard probably has the Indianapolis road course circled again after his strong run. But I just don't see Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan as a team overall turn things around after this race weekend. One driver that I feel really wants to change his look, Roman Grosjean. 13th fastest in second practice, and he's 13th in the points. And listen to this crazy stat. First 4 races had 2 poles, a third place starting position, and only 1 start outside the top 10. The last 4 races, only 1 start in the top 10, and the other 3 outside the top 20, not even higher than 20th place. We know his results have not been good. He either seems to be on the podium, crashing, or having a mistake and being towards the back. Is Roman Grosjean's season and chances for a win slipping away from him? Is he in a position where the championship might be out of reach now, especially with Palou's dominance?
Definitely the championship is out of reach, and that's unheard of, isn't it? Thinking about what we saw with Grosjean at the start of the year. He got taken out, of course, in the first race of the year, but he looked good, looked decent. I think that stat you just read out actually shocked me a little bit. I didn't realize how bad his season was actually going since the 500, and it is going quite bad. I think a good result at Iowa, maybe Toronto, somewhere along those lines would be a little bit of a kickstart. But I think the championship's definitely gone. That seems to be, he won't have the mentality for that. And a win, he could take a win. Anything's possible, especially IndyCar. It's more than Formula One. He could easily take a win if he's got a good weekend and a good car underneath him. Looking at it right now, Grosjean is down in 13th place, 4 points back. He's 100 points back from Marcus Ericsson. So the championship's gone for him. And a chance of a race win, not just yet, but I don't think it'll come on an oval. I think it'll come at a track that I think Laguna Seca, last race of the year. That's a Grosjean style track. I think he'll do quite well there, I believe. What do you think, Joe?
Laguna Seca, definitely. I think that's one of the opportunities. The Indianapolis road course, I was surprised because remember his first year in that number 51 car, podium, pole, was looking good. This year, it just seemed like nothing occurred where it stood out in that race. And then here we are now, another road course. I felt this is one permanent road course. You got elevation changes, 13th fastest. Unless you can step it up at qualifying, I just don't see. And Ready Autosport as a whole doesn't seem to be 100% up there with Ganassi, with the Penske's. So I don't think it's so much Grosjean, but I just think this is something within that organization where they just can't seem to get the maximum performance out of that car. And then you have drivers trying to get the max out, especially Colton Herta, Roman Grosjean. But that's where the mistakes occur, going off track. And Colton Herta, Road America, the strategy did not go their way, so he slipped back. Grosjean went off the track. I just don't see this going to be a race weekend where he could probably get the pole. Watch, he's going to probably surprise us, pick it up a lot, but it's just executing that perfect race. I feel that is something the team cannot do. And if anything, that team should be just focused on, let's just finish in the top 10. Let's just try to get a podium if we could. Don't make the big move if it's a difference between 4th place and 3rd place. We don't want the big move to backfire, and then we end up DNFing again because you're not going to gain points that way. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens with that Andretti Autosport, Roman Grosjean. Colton Herta, definitely Francesco, not having a good season as well either. And really, Kyle Kirkwood, if it wasn't for Long Beach, where will we be talking about with him? Because that was his win, of course. So it'll be really interesting to see how that all shapes up. And of course, IndyCar, that'll be tomorrow. Programming note, after the IndyCar race, if we could fit it in, we will have Grid Life Wrap Up to recap the IndyCar and Formula One, since NASCAR is starting much later in the evening. NASCAR on Grid Encore. But Josh will preview NASCAR right now, the Chicago Street Course.
I'm going to leave it up to you. How good can you change our cameras around? All you need to do is add the new camera. So, because that's what the mic's on. So just it down like this in the commentary box. Hello. There we are. Look. Let's see how I get that sorted. Yeah, okay. That'll work. Just stay off the 2 front while I read out the script. Yes, the NASCAR Cup Series is in Chicago for downtown Chicago's historic street course circuit as well. 82% of ticket holders for this event have never attended a NASCAR race. This race has so many questions entering the weekend. The last major event in the Cup Series with this much hype and questions was the 2022 Clash at the Coliseum as well. And Joe, coming to you on this one, we'll switch it back after. Is this the biggest test for NASCAR in expanding its presence to new fans and markets?
This is definitely the biggest test when it comes to expanding their fans base in a brand new market, in a brand new track that they've never done before. The LA Coliseum, you have a stadium there. You have the ability to build a track, control the factors in that stadium. Now you've got a street course. You have so many different players involved. Starting with, we all know the documented history of how there was a change in the mayorship. New mayor, not sure. It's a 3-year contract. City governments always decide differently with each elected official on contracts and how they all work out. You have a new crowd. How would they respond? Will this be something where they're going to keep coming back year after year? Or will it be that first year, the novelty, and then the interest drops the second year? It's going to be very key. I think NASCAR has done a lot of steps to go and try to build this fan base. They've been involved, engaged with a lot of charities across the weekend at events. You had NASCAR Day at the Cubs game. Then you even had 2311 Day, where you had Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick, and Kurt Busch all there. I feel NASCAR is really doing everything they can to reach out to this market of Chicago. We've been seeing on social media some of the new fans, much more diverse. This is what NASCAR wants. Overall, NASCAR is doing every step right. The question is going to be, how will this race turn out? Will this be a race where the fans will be engaged and they'll continue watching it? Or could this be a race where we maybe see somebody just dominate? The true diehard motorsports fan might like it, but the casual fan, which NASCAR really wants, that wants that action all the time, may not suit their style. Overall, for NASCAR, this is going to be, I think, the biggest test, because if it's successful, even if it's a crazy race and it has fans debating, this weekend successful, you're going to have a lot of new NASCAR fans, and NASCAR will have the confidence of putting together a street course, not just in Chicago, but other markets. Because you got to remember, even if Chicago for some reason doesn't return next year or the year after, NASCAR could say, hey, look, Chicago is the blueprint for what is a great street course race weekend. We know how we get things done at the LA Coliseum. We could combine, put that effort into other tracks across cities, across the United States. This could be huge for NASCAR. And so far, everything seems to be pointing in the right direction.
Yeah, it's the start of the Cup Series here at Chicago, and the Stars making their return as well, along with Jenson Button in his second Cup Series start, the 37th entry into the field, the Project 91 car. Don't forget, Shane Van Gisbergen, the 3-time Repco Supercar Series champion as well, is making his appearance. Last year, the 2022 Grid Ranking World Champion scored a point in WRC, a podium finish in WR2 World Rally Championship top 10 in Rally New Zealand. No driver or rider in the history of the grid ranking has scored in 3 different series. SVG has done endurance racing in cars as well and has raced almost everywhere. And now the big question is, does SVG finish inside the top 10 in his first ever race in NASCAR?
That is going to be so key. Can he finish in the top 10? I think he can. He is so used to driving in tight quarters in Australian supercars. They have street courses, Newcastle. We have the Golden Beach Surfers Paradise track. That is another tight track for the supercar series. I think he could really get the max out of it. The big key will be qualifying. This will be the true indicator of if he can finish in the top 10. If he could qualify in the top 15, I would say, where he's in that top half of the field at the start of the race, he's in a great position to be in the top 10. If he qualifies further to the back, 16th, beyond, especially if he's outside the top 20, then the doubt's going to come in. Would he be able to get towards the front? He'll be very dependent on strategy and his experience getting around drivers in those tight curves of the street course. It's going to be really tricky because one of the things I see he's going to probably learn, supercars, you have a lot of rules when it comes to the contact. A lot of times the stewards will look into it, make determination of if someone's at fault, if there's a penalty. Not the case in NASCAR. NASCAR is very physical, all out. We've seen drivers like Jordan Taylor at Circus of America. A lot of people thought he could be a contender. Not a factor at all. Just got used up when he substituted for Chase Elliott. So overall, with this race, I think Shane Van Gisbergen needs to have a good qualifying effort, be in that top 15. If you're in the top 2 rows, even better, because you could really just focus on gaining the positions, going for the win. And of course, if you're up front and everyone's behind you, that's the easiest route to victory. The only chaos, of course, towards the end of the race, where we really see in the past on the road courses like Coda, overtime attempt after overtime attempt. It's going to be really fascinating to see what happens with Shane Van Gisbergen in the street course. Adam, we know how good SVG is on street course. Now it's NASCAR's turn to know the name Shane Van Gisbergen. And of course, for everyone following us, they know SVG's name from the grid ranking. One of the best drivers year in, year out. 24 Hours Le Mans, Daytona, World Rally Championship. He is truly one of the best racers, I think, in the world today.
Indeed, there are many unknowns entering this weekend with the street race, but some knowns. Early favourites include AJ Allmendinger and Michael McDowell. Both have streetcar racing experiences as well. Tyler Reddick and Martin Truex Jr. have won on road courses this year as well. Are there any other favourites entering this race weekend on the entry list?
When it comes to race favourites, I think you really hit them all, because one of the big things, AJ Allmendinger, Michael McDowell, they've raced on street courses. They know the importance of being towards the front. They have the equipment to do it. Just a matter of putting together a good, solid race. And I feel AJ Allmendinger has the upper hand advantage over Michael McDowell. Tyler Reddick, Martin Truex Jr., they know how to win in road courses. I think Tyler Reddick has the upper hand, especially in a track like this, where if he could go out there, race the racetrack like he did in Elkhart Lake, Circus of America, he will be really hard to beat. When it comes to a finesse track where you have rhythms, taking care of the tires, the strategy, I feel Martin Truex Jr. has that experience and upper hand, particularly in Sonoma. Those are our 4 drivers I think really most people are going to be looking at when it comes to pick a winner or their betting favorites. I know a lot of people, Josh, has mentioned Chase Elliott's name. Chase Elliott has been able to win a road courses, but it's been quite some time now. I just don't see that occurring. Kyle Larson, he knows how to win a road course. He is just so inconsistent this year. He's either winning or he's crashing. It just seems like you get one or the other. Kyle Busch, he's won on a road course, but he needs to have a really good race, maybe some luck. Ross Chastain as well. He really got his win when he punted essentially Alex Bowman and AJ Allmendinger out of the way in Coda. So really those 4, as you said, I think are the big favorites when it comes for winning the race. But with so many unpredictables, we don't know what's going to happen. You could have one crash and it's going to take all 4 of them out. And it's a wide open game of who's going to be left for survival. I think this is going to be a very entertaining street race.
I'm really looking forward to it as well. I'm not going to be in the box for it, but I know Adam is, and on with Matthew and I believe Seth on USRN. So I'm going to be tuning into them, watching it as well, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. First ever street race for NASCAR is going to be absolutely exciting. That gets underway tomorrow afternoon as well. At least there's not a direct clash going on anymore. That's perfect. But I'm going to hand it back to you because it's time for the favorite game of everybody that Ed is, I not think, winning, but I think I've got a point, so that's not too bad.
Yeah, it's really picking up. Pick a winner. Just about everyone scored a point. Joshua, there you are, 9th place. And of course, we're in the month of July, so that means the bonus points are now back in play. If you're outside the top 10, your first correct guess, you get a bonus point. If you're outside the top 20, you get a bonus point for each correct guess. So definitely, it's never too late to join Pick a Winner. You could easily climb up into the top 10 and contend for the win. Yeah, everybody picked Max Verstappen, so everyone got a point pretty much. And we're going to start with Formula One. I think I know who you're going to pick. Who is you got for the win?
Esteban Ocon. No, I'm joking. Max Verstappen. I'm joking. It's not Esteban Ocon, I promise. It's not Esteban Ocon. Max Verstappen, he's going to win it. I mean, he was 15 or so seconds ahead, maybe even more at the end of this one. And that was in a sprint race. It's 71 laps tomorrow. but not counting safety cars, he's going to be out there lapping the entire field. So yeah, Max Verstappen's my bigger winner for tomorrow.
Yeah, Max Verstappen, especially the weather, no chance of rain, so I don't see any surprises. Really, the only way he doesn't win the race, mechanical issue, or he makes a mistake. So it's going to be Max Verstappen for Formula One. IndyCar, this is where I think it's going to be really interesting because qualifying is going to be later today. Who do you see as a favorite for the IndyCar race at Mid-Ohio?
It's between Pato O'Ward, Joseph Newgarden, and Alex Palou. The same three that win the championship in 21, considering enough. Don't think it'd be Pato. Newgarden's had an off time. Do you know what? I'll go for it. I'll go for the brave option. I'll go with Alex Palou. I don't think Power's going to do it either, thinking about it off the top of my head. So I'm going to go for Alex Palou to take the win tomorrow. I think that stat is quite nice that we were talking about earlier on. And yeah, that's my top pick for IndyCar.
He'll be 3 in a row if he does it. He looks unstoppable right now. I want to almost go with Colton Herta just because I feel this is a track that could suit his style, but I just do not have the confidence in Andretti Autosport as we had talked about earlier. So I'm going to stick with Alex Palou making a 3 in a row and really delivering a big blow to everyone's championship hopes in the IndyCar series in the halfway round. That's very impressive to say you're doing it that early in IndyCar. And last but not least, the wild card, I think, of the weekend, the NASCAR Cup Series. I'm surprised. Matt White went with Shane Van Gisbergen. Who are you going to go with for this race?
It's not really surprising, but I was going to be Shane Van Gisbergen just because he's the only one with multiple race wins on road courses or street courses. And I think he's got that knack. So is it foolish to go for SVG? I don't know. No, it's not. Paddington said no. SVG will win. He won everything else. Why not? He'll win them tomorrow in the NASCAR. Biggest upset we've ever seen in NASCAR as some Australian comes in and batters away everybody else. Brilliant. An Aussie comes in and Shane Van Gisbergen.
Shane Van Gisbergen. I'm going to go with AJ Allmendinger. I feel AJ Allmendinger, he has won on some crazy races, including the Indianapolis Road Course the first year. I just do not see. I think the problem with Shane Van Gisbergen, he could be leading the race, but if we have an overtime, somebody's going to use him up because they know you don't have to race against Shane Van Gisbergen the following week. He's on an airplane back to Australia, so you don't have to worry about you pushing Chase Elliott out of the way. He's going to get you back the following race weekend. So AJ Allmendinger was that.
He's not eligible for playoff points, is he? But if he wins, what does that mean? Could he then go into the playoffs?
Won't be in the. Well, he didn't. He won't be in the playoffs because he didn't attempt every race. But the points, I assume he only declared points, so he might collect the points, but not be playoff eligible, just because he did not attempt every race, which is a NASCAR rule that they have. Add him in the chat room.
Does that make sense?
Max Verstappen, IndyCar, Scott McLaughlin, NASCAR, Shane Van Gisbergen. So Scott McLaughlin, interesting pick. Penske's pretty quiet. Nice. We don't really talk about them much besides the DS penalty this last weekend at Portland.
Well, they won the Brickyard, didn't they? The 500. So that was sort of the only time we've really talked about Penske all year long, really. It was
pretty quiet. Pretty quiet from Team Penske, but definitely we'll be following all the races tomorrow. Of course, link in the video description to Joshua's Burst channel for the watch-alongs. Highly encourage everyone to check them out. And of course, we encourage everyone, visit the links below, especially buy me a coffee. You want to buy a cup of coffee for Joshua, myself, or anyone from the Grid Network team, more than welcome to do so. You set the amount. And of course, if you want to invest in the Grid Network, help us expand our coverage to more tracks, Patreon, link in the video description. You'll get your name read at the beginning of every program. The newest member gets their name highlighted in gold. And of course, we're on social media everywhere, including gridranking.com. See our recaps of last weekend's race, including the Formula E Portland E-Prix. If you are in motorsports journalism or want to get your feet in motorsports journalism, go to our LinkedIn page. We'd love to have you on the air, have more folks get an opportunity to get into the motorsports journalism industry. And of course, Grid Ranking on Twitter for the latest Grid Ranking and Grid Endurance Performance Index, which the only race this weekend for them is the Spa 24 Hours. Joshua Burst, thank you so much for your time, and we'll be encouraging everyone to check out Joshua Burst watch along on Joshua Burst Motorsports. For Joshua Burst, I'm Joe San Diego. Thank you for watching today's program. We'll see you next time, and enjoy the races. Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.